Y'all, welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. Today, I have a friend of mine, Jillian, on who owns Fit Flavors here in St. Louis, just Missouri, right? Just
Correct.
St. Louis
For now. For now.
She's an incredible human. I'm excited for her to share her story with all of you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so grateful you're here. So first, can you just let them know who you are, where you're from? Kind of just start with baseline. Who are you? I know.
I'm not actually from St. Louis. I know a lot of people like to know that.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Ohio.
Okay.
Transplanted, moved when I was a senior in high school. That was a little bit of a culture shock. Ended up in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Started to go to college there and realized that really wasn't for me. Had a passion for fitness as soon as I did my first set of walking lunges and was like, I want to be a trainer.
That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. So realized I didn't need to go to school. I got certified through multiple certifications, nutrition cert, personal training cert, and was personal training at like 18 years old. And then didn't feel like Tennessee was the place for me. That's where we moved, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And first opportunity I got, I left and went to Miami, Florida.
Wow. Okay. What opportunity brought you there?
So actually, I was working for a gym in Murfreesboro, and the guy also owned a gym in downtown Miami. And
amazing.
He's kind of needed someone to go down and run it till he could sell his Tennessee gym. And I was like, I'll go. So I left. I went down, and then
just you by yourself.
I went with a boyfriend at the time, and so that was like my embarking on like growing up really quick, and got into fitness and realized there's a lot more to fitness and healthy and lifestyle. I was kind of going through it myself. I started kind of going down the avenue of bodybuilding because my boyfriend was a bodybuilder, and it is, as we know, sometimes that lifestyle or those eating habits aren't like sustainable, healthy eating habits. But I didn't know any better, and that's kind of how I started my health journey. Was on this like extreme, and ended up only staying down there like right around a year, and then we ended up moving up here to St. Louis. So I was
you and your boyfriend.
Correct. I think I was finally 20 when I moved to St. Louis and just started working as a personal trainer here. I didn't stay with him for very long. We broke up, and then I just kept working on my career as personal training. I really got into it, really got into my love for nutrition. And then obviously working with so many clientele, I had adopted cooking at home for myself and realized so many people weren't doing that for themselves. And that was the gap that I saw in my clients' progress and success.
No question.
It was they would just not eat right. And when I say not eat right, maybe they weren't eating enough, weren't eating the proper amount of macronutrients. Like women totally undernourish themselves. And I started educating so much on nutrition that it kind of like my whole career kind of transitioned from trainer to nutrition coach. And I did that for a couple of years. Tried to open my own personal training studio, did that for a couple of years. And then when that didn't work out, I kind of was at a point in my life where I was like, what am I doing? I was 25, so no college degree. My business didn't work out, and I didn't really have a lot of money at the time. I dumped it all into the studio, and I guess you could say washed it up as a loss. So it was my first failed business 3 years after doing all of it.
And I think this is important to note because a lot of times I'll bring people on this show, and you've been on probably hundreds of shows, and you look like, I mean, you have it all together. You have this successful business, you have this beautiful family, but it's like, I think it's important for all of us to know, like,
oh, that I was a shit show before. Yes.
Like, and that's part of this podcast is about going through pain and turning into purpose. And a lot of us can hit, the bottom. It's not pretty.
Yeah, I would say I probably had 2 points in my life that were bottom. And one was when I lost my business. I actually had a falling out with my business partner. I actually write about this in my book. I wrote a book. It's called Owning the Weight. And it talks all about just my story, but more or less how I was able to use my mindset and habits and systems that I have in life to kind of get me to the other side or to the goal that I'm trying to obtain. And when I lost that business, I kind of had one of those moments of like, who are you? You're a piece of crap. You've lost everything. You're broke. You're stupid. You don't have a college education. Like, what are you going to do with your life? And it was depression. It was anxiety. It was ended up in the hospital from a panic attack. That was kind of like my most impactful thing. Like, I remember being in the hospital and saying a prayer to God. That was my prayer. And I said, God, are you real? Are you real?
Are you real?
And God, if you're real, show me. That was my prayer. That was it. God, are you real? Show me. And that was it. That's all I really said. And then when I went home, I did pick up a Bible or a book that I had at my house because I remember my mom reading the Bible a lot. And I was kind of like, is there something to this faith that maybe I don't know about? And that's kind of where my faith journey started. I was 25 and I did do the work. So I started reading. And so I spent a lot of my time in the mornings doing like the seeking and the discovering to find that I could go on to a new path. And God presented himself to me. I actually put my whole testimony in my book too, because it was really impactful in my life. But it took about 3 or 4 months for me to kind of shift and get out of that like severe, almost like victim mentality, depression, and
Yep.
say, okay, what's next for me? And it gave me the confidence to say, I'm going to go back to school. I went back to school. I went to culinary school. I'm a graduate Le Cordon Bleu. And then really just like pursue professional development and personal development on my own. And that's kind of how my journey just started on my new path to Fit Flavors. And, you know, I never really had, there was never a plan to like, I'm going to start another business.
Right.
I just think I'm going to cook for people because I love to cook. I want to help my clients and it makes me really happy to cook for them. And so it started really small as just like me cooking on the weekends for some people. And then it was, you know, 10, 15, 20 people. And then I started listed in culinary school. And so I was training during the day. I was going to culinary school at night. And then on the weekends, I was cooking all this meal prep and delivering it to people. And so I had this year of my life where I'm not even exaggerating. It was like 100-hour weeks where I was doing something that required me to be present or on and perform. And like, it gave me purpose, you know, and that's really kind of what it kind of shifted me. And so work is good for people. I think sometimes we sit and sulk, but really we just need to get up and take action. And it doesn't always have to be perfect, but that's how you figure things out. Me and my husband kind of have this saying, we joke around, fuck around, find out. It is like, I just started doing things and then I figured things out and it was the next step to where I was going in life. So,
Amazing.
oh, well.
Well, I mean, I'd never heard you share that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think, you know, especially right now, wintertime, I think a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are down on things. I know for myself, I'm
Like the seasonal depression.
yes, is this ever going to end? And I think hearing that story, I mean, for those of you that don't know, how many Fit Flavors do you guys have? It's a store. Why don't you describe what is Fit Flavors?
Yeah, Fit Flavors is a local business. We're here in St. Louis. What's really cool about Fit Flavors is a lot of meal prep companies, you have to order online. It gets shipped to you. They really control what you pick and choose. I didn't want Fit Flavors to be like that. I wanted to be the solution to everybody's excuse. So I said, it's got to be super obtainable 7 days a week. So we're open 7 days a week. You can walk in and buy one meal so you don't have to make a bad decision and go somewhere else. You can order if you're a planner and you want to have all your stuff planned out for the week. You can have it delivered to your house or you can come in and pick up. So we currently have 6 locations, just signed our lease for number 7 yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. So we're sprinkled throughout St. Louis. And our menu is pretty vast and it's changing frequently to keep people engaged. I never want people to feel like they're on a diet because that's not a sustainable lifestyle. You got to feel like you love healthy eating and it's a part of your lifestyle, and food is just a tool and a resource to help you get to the goals that you want in life, whether that's athletic performance, whether that's health things, maybe you're overcoming a disease or something and you're fighting something. Nutrition is such a tool to help you get well.
And a lot of people don't know that. We weren't taught that in school, right? Our
No.
generation. And so a lot of people,
which is really cool what's going on right now politically. Cool. There is so much going on and being said and being brought to light. If you guys don't follow the Food Babe, she's got a lot of it.
Yes, exactly. And regardless, we talk about this a lot, regardless of which side, blue, red, purple, whatever color you vote, or it's just bringing the awareness.
There's so much being talked about right now with nutrition that's never been talked about.
It needs to be talked about.
Yes, and childhood obesity and where it's driving from, and like the seed oils, the food colorings, the artificial stuff, and it's just it's educating people because a lot of people just don't know.
Correct. And people like us, you even more so than me, like, are really into it. And a lot of people even are like, you're crazy, Kira. Like, you're that crazy about your kids' food? And I'm like, well, it's important to me what I put in my body, but my kid's body even more so.
I also think sometimes like, it's so important to us and our values are so rooted in health. It's not that we're crazy, it's just that we're going against the grain of culture and what we see every day at school lunch, at the gas stations, at fast food restaurants. Everywhere you go, you're overserved, you're fed inflammatory food, you're fed unbalanced meals. We shove our face while we're watching screens. Like, we have so many bad habits as American culture. So when you do something healthy, like actually cook for your family and sit down at a table, like, you're against the norm. And so, like, it feels more challenging at times when really it's the way it's designed.
Back to the basics.
And if you look back at America, like even 50, 60 years ago, that was the norm. You know, a lot of this stuff is just really came up in the last several decades.
Right.
And it's not even happening in Europe.
Right.
In other parts of the world.
Right.
It's America.
It's America. Exactly. And I know, being in the fitness industry, people overtrain, are at the gym all the time and neglect the food part. You know, a lot of people come to me and say, I need help, I need accountability. And the first thing I say is, I'm like, we need to see I want to see what you're eating. I need a full week of exactly what you're putting in your body. And they're like, yeah, but what about, like, are you going to, like, design a workout for me? I'm like, we'll get to that. Like, I just want to know what you're fueling your body with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, as all of my viewers know, that I lost my husband to cancer, a GI cancer. So not only was this important to me before, but now I'm on fire about it.
Wow.
Because we don't really know why GI cancers are on the rise. But we do know that the foods we've been eating and the drinks we've been drinking are not helping.
They're not helping. No.
And so, you know, I've always loved Fit Flavors. I've been enamored, like, in awe of you. I'm like, who is this woman? What has she done? She wrote a book, and we'll definitely put the link to her book below. But I did want you to talk about your struggles a little bit, which you did, and finding God through all this.
Yeah, I mean, God's really been, like, the foundation in my life. I'd say the last 15 years is really just aligning my life to more of a biblical life. And it's so interesting. I was just talking to a friend about it earlier, but, like, God lays out for us in the Bible how we should live our lives. This, I wouldn't call them suggestions. Some people call them laws, but it's all the things that he wishes and how we live our life.
Right.
And when we align our lives to those things, blessings follow. How to be in your marriage, how to parent your children, like, it's all in there. And when we follow them, then we're blessed with a good marriage. We're blessed with obedient children. Like, the Bible tells you to discipline your children. Like, it's all in there. It's just sometimes the culture pulls you in a different way. So it's just been a shift for me personally. Like, there's been so much conviction for myself on my own journey, because I mean, we've all lived in sin. We've all gone through things. And, like, looking back at where I've come and things and choices I've made in my life, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to make a different decision to live a better way, or how I treat my husband, or how I honor my mom and dad, you know, and, like, just looking at the things. And maybe as I've gotten older and started to mature, I've gotten a little bit more of a different perspective about it all. But God is really, I mean, Jesus Christ, my Savior, and he's really just given me so much confidence to live in faith instead of fear. And it is like a firm foundation. Like, the Bible talks about, like, you know, you build your house on the rock. When the winds come, you don't get blown. And when you don't have that firm foundation of truth and knowing who you are and your identity in Christ, like, stuff just could take you down.
For sure.
You know, and so, like, you get to walk through those hard times with God right there by your side. And so you have a companion and someone to walk with you and nurture you and guide you and direct you, and how to process it and stuff. So, I mean, obviously we live in a fallen world. We're going to have people pass away. We're going to have sickness. We're going to have, you know, accidents happen. And that, you know, I always think about people who, like, say, well, why did God let this happen? You know, and it's like, it's the fallen world. And the more you study it, and I don't have it all figured out, but, like, you start to understand we're here only for a short period of time until we live with God afterwards, when we pass on to heaven.
Yeah, it's so true.
Sorry, I went really deep there.
No, I'm into it. It's like something I need to hear, and probably a lot of people need to hear. You know, it's we're almost 2 years past Kyle's passing, and, like, I am at a place where I'm like, what am I doing? What are we doing here? What am I doing? What are we doing?
Maybe looking or searching maybe for, like, what's your purpose now or something?
because for a long time my purpose was taking care of him,
Mm,
you know. And I think a lot of widows, a lot of people that go through that get to this point,
mm.
you know.
Like maybe a little later on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then everyone says the second year is harder than the first, and after the first year I'm like, that can't be.
It's different. I bet you it's different.
Yeah, because
Now you have to move on and figure what's my next 40 years look like.
and it's reality. Whereas the first year it's like shock.
Shock. Wow.
You know, like going through all the first. But you know, it's, I always say control what you can control, right? And so for me, being active and feeding my body well, and sharing that message with people, and you know, every day is a gift, and our body is a gift. And so I wanted to ask you, as we were talking about the Bible and reading the Bible, I had a conversation with one of the pastors at the Crossing. I don't know if you still go there, but we do. And
Which pastor?
Tim.
Oh, Tim Bounds.
Yeah. He and I get together frequently. He was with us towards the end of Kyle's disease battle and all the way through the end. And so he and I got really close, and I was talking to him about, you know, God created these things for us to eat. We as humans are the ones that have manufactured,
Altered.
Correct. We've altered all the food that he created. And so it is just coming back to the basics. I mean, biblically, do you feel that way? Like as you're reading, like does that?
So it's so funny. A couple years ago, I had this woman. She's older, like probably 80. She's one of Vinny's friends. Vinny's my 11-year-old son. Okay. We were at a basketball game. His mom is probably 10 years older than me, and then her mom came, the kid's grandma. She's probably close to 80. She came up to me afterwards, and it was like she put her hand on me, and I didn't know her. I just seen her at the games, and she goes, you're new to Kirkday, which is the school we were going to. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, I've been praying for you and your husband. And I was like, who are you? Like, wow. Okay, yeah. Great. And she's like, I know you have a business. You put out healthy food. And she goes, God has been speaking to me about your business. And you are putting the food out in the way that he created it. And I was like, whoa. And she's like, God is blessing the food that's coming in and going out of your facility. And I was like, wow. I mean, I felt like she spoke over me. It was powerful.
Yeah.
And I mean, that never left me. And yeah, you know, like yeah, God gave us food to nourish our body. And I mean, we've just taken it to so many different levels of satisfaction. I was reading Atomic Habits right now. Have you ever read that book?
I think I have it. Like, I have a lot of amazing books at my house.
You just need to get through them. One of them was talking about like how when you make a habit change, you got to make it like super attractive. And it was talking about like how they've made fast food so attractive. And it's the contrast of texture with temperature, and it's all flavor profile, what we're talking about right now. And it's like, it creates this almost explosion and experience in your mouth, and then the dopamine response in your brain. And so like, as we've just evolved as a culture in culinary and chefs and all this, we've created all that. But then, like you said, we've altered probably for margin as a company and businesses and the conglomerates of the world, like, let's actually take this product out and put this chemical in. It's a lot cheaper. We can get 4 times the margin.
Yes,
it tastes the same. We can add more salt. We can add processed sugar and create the same dopamine response with this garbage chemical product that we can label as XYZ. And so like you said, we've altered with science and just evolution, and we've totally changed what used to be. And he said, you know, hundreds of thousands of years ago, people just ate seeds and nuts and fruits and animals, and like that was it. Like, you didn't know, maybe not even know when your next meal would come from. And today we live in such, you know, like, especially in America, everything's at our fingertips, but we've got so far away from what was original. You know, it's like, how do you stay in a line? I always tell people it's more important to read the ingredient list than it is the actual nutritional label.
Absolutely.
Like, know what's going in your food. You know?
Absolutely.
And then if you get the macros and they align, that's awesome, you know, but a lot of times we just look at something, or we'll read even like a packaging has marketing on there. Like, it'll say whole grain or all natural or real fruit, but it's like, and 20 grams of added sugar. Like, it doesn't say that, but if you read the fine print on the back, like, you can just read right through all the marketing that's on the pretty package.
Well, and that's what people people buy. And a lot of people, can you talk about macros and micros? Just
Sure.
let's break it down because, some people have no idea.
How nerdy do you want me to get?
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Well, like to the average person who hasn't studied nutrition,
Okay.
knows nothing, they're listening to this and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed because what are all these dyes and what is a macro? Like,
okay, macro is short for macronutrient, which is fat, carbohydrate, and protein. Tell you a little bit more about that. Fat has 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrates and protein have 4 calories per gram. So your macros are what get you your calories. That's the energy of the food. So for example, if a food has, let's say, 9 grams of fat times 9 calories would be, I should have said 10. Let's say 10 grams of fat times 9 is 90 calories come from fat. Okay. So you put it over here. Then carbohydrates are 20. 20 times 4 is 80. And then let's say 20 grams of protein times 4 is 80. So then you take 90, 80, 80, and you add those up, and that's your total calories. That's how you get total calories. And now there's percentages off to the right. That is the
suggested daily value
based off a 200 calorie diet.
Okay.
So just the
2,000.
I'm sorry, 2,000 calorie diet. Thank you. Yeah. And so like everybody's daily calorie needs are all based off your age, your gender, your height, your goals, your activity level. In fact, little shout out, if you go to Fit Flavors website, www.fit-flavors.com, you can go under our resources and we have a calorie calculator online where you can put in your age, your gender, your goal, your activity level, and it will give you how many calories you should consume. You're in a day. And now micronutrients are like the finer things. Those can be your vitamins, your minerals, fiber, sodium, those type of things. And those are also recommended off daily values. Now, depending on your health, you might be deficient in something. And so your doctor might recommend you up a micronutrient or a vitamin or a mineral or something like that. But typically when we eat a well-balanced meal, or I'm sorry, a well-balanced diet full of a variety of fruits and vegetables, even proteins are very nutrient dense in micronutrients. So you're getting your iron, you're getting your potassium, your magnesium, all those things are coming from your foods. Some fruits and vegetables offer certain nutrients, other ones offer different ones. Fiber is another type of nutrient that is, it's like fiber and sugar are both types of carbohydrates. If you ever look at a nutrition label, they're like indented underneath a carbohydrate. So here's where we're going to get really nerdy, and I hope I don't lose anybody, but like if there's 20 carbohydrates in a product and 5 grams come from fiber, fiber is something that slows down the digestion. It helps our gut. You can't really utilize fiber as like a source of energy. Sugar, let's say there's 5 grams of sugar in there. Sugar is a very quick digesting type of carbohydrate. As soon as it hits your tongue, like your body is releasing insulin, it's converting it to glucose, and your body is going, are we burning this or are we storing this? Because we're going to either store it in your muscles, your liver, your brain's going to use it, or if you've already got that all stored up, we're going to just convert to body fat right now. And so like the more sugar you eat and the faster you eat it and the larger portions you eat it, if you're not utilizing it, like riding a bicycle right then and there, like your body's like, we'll just put this in the fat stores for later, Whereas if you eat something that is more complex, doesn't have a lot of sugar, like whole grain products, rices, potatoes, there's no sugar. Those complex carbs break down much slower. It takes your body longer to break it down into glucose. And so you have hours to use it as energy. And most of us, if we eat the correct portions and we eat a good amount of carbohydrates, we can utilize that in our daily lives. And if you're exercising, you can absolutely eat carbs. In fact, you want to eat carbohydrates so you can perform better. There's a lot of misunderstanding around low carb and no carb diets.
Diet.
There's
so many different diets.
Oh, there is.
And people try a diet. It's like they're stuck in this diet and they follow it.
Anyway, and I think a lot of that too is just uneducated.
Right.
I remember when I was in my bodybuilding days thinking I had to eat like this, XYZ, and I have to do these. I had all these like rules around my eating. Well, when I said, okay, Jillian, like, do you actually understand how this nutrition is actually working in your body? Do you understand what's happening when you eat this food? I didn't. And so I just did some research around hormones and digestion. And once I started to get it, I was like, well, that makes sense. And so I started to incorporate more of these whole foods back in. I started feeling better and I started noticing cravings going away. Um, and what happens is you just start debunking a lot of the myths. So a lot of times when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm going low carb," and they're typically overweight and they don't understand why they're doing it, it's just they're uneducated and they're just doing it because that's what they think works. Or maybe they had some quick fix with that a year ago and they lost some weight, but then they put it back on again because they didn't change their lifestyle. They just eliminated a macronutrient for a short period of time. You know what I'm saying? So like those are the eating habits that at Fit Flavors we're trying to get people away from that. We want to introduce them to whole foods. We want them to introduce them into portion control and a balance of all the macronutrients. And when you can give your body what it needs, it really can operate at its full potential. And the more consistent you are with eating that way, the better you're going to feel, the more results you're going to have, and the easier that it's going to feel. I always say like one meal a day from Fit Flavors can drastically change someone's eating habits. Because think about it, where you would maybe go out and order fast food, you're getting processed whatever, you're getting inflammatory oils, you're getting misproportioned a dish that doesn't have the right alignment of macros. But then you eat a Fit Flavors meal. Now you got vegetables, you've got anti-inflammatory oils, you've got the right amount of protein, the complex carbohydrates, a good dose of fiber. Like your body just starts to feel different.
Yeah.
And then when you go out, you're like, well, that doesn't look like the right portion.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah. You start to recognize, so it crosses over into your life outside of eating Fit Flavors. You start to recognize when things aren't portioned correctly, or, oh, wow, I feel a lot different when I eat this than when I eat a Fit Flavors meal. And so if anything, my hope is that it's really just a resource for people to help them get to a sustainable, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be like a resource for people on that journey.
And you are.
I hope so.
Please go to that website. Again, she has a book. She's only in St. Louis right now, but I always ask you and think about where else are you going to go?
We're working on it.
Where else is going to go? Because this, I mean, it can be utilized anywhere and everywhere. It's hard to find, especially at like when I travel, it's hard to find a lot of times healthy places to eat, depending on where you go. And, so as someone that, like, I don't go on vacations and like go all out and forget it. Like it's a lifestyle.
We've started like staying at Airbnbs just so like I can do grocery shopping and cook some food at home.
That is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Okay.
9 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're into this. They love it.
As a byproduct as mom and dad. Yeah. They're starting to get it. We talk about the 80-20 a lot, like that balance of fun. We have our fair share of clementines and Five Guys French fries. Those are our favorites.
Yeah. You follow the 80-20 rule. I wanted to ask you, this is kind of a hot topic. The semaglutide. Is that what it's called? The shot? What is it called? The shot. Any thoughts on people getting the weight loss?
The Ozempic and Mounjaro.
Yes.
I think, so obviously it was designed, a lot of people pre-diabetic are having their own issues with insulin. Under a doctor's care, it can be an amazing tool. I feel like everybody's like, what do you think about it, Jillian? It's like a quick fix. Well, there are people that have health conditions that have actually destroyed their own hormones by maybe their lifestyle for 20 years. And it's going to be that one thing that helps them. Think about hormone replacement. Everybody's doing hormone replacement, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone now. They're tools to help someone. But when people skip the foundational of the pyramid, so I love my doctor's office. I go to Palm. Little shout out to Palm. I've been a member there for almost 4 years now. I went there, 1 for knee pain and 2 for some gut issues I was having years ago. They explain it like this. There's 4 things on our foundation of our health. 1 is your nutrition. 2 is movement. 3 is your sleep. And 4 is stress management. That's where I was struggling. Yeah, right.
Right here.
That's where that was causing my whole triangle to tip and just spill out the bottom. And I was having so many side effects because the stress in my life from having 2 kids, growing my business so fast, doing all the things, it was just so much. My body just started to give out. And so as I turned 40 last year, starting to learn it like, oh my gosh, stress is a real thing. Like when I got diagnosed with what was it called? What is it? Just like chronic stress. I almost laughed in my doctor's face. I was
Was
like,
that
I was like, well, it was funny. I went to 2 different doctor's offices to get a second opinion, and they both diagnosed me with chronic stress in the same week. And I was like,
okay.
went to, oh my God, to my husband. I'm like, what? Is that even a real thing? Like, didn't want to give it time to think about it. And as I've had to walk through the healing journey, I realized how much I was just destroying myself, going 100 miles an hour. There was no like balance to my care and like gentleness to myself, like the restorative part. So sleep and like, you know, when you're young, it's all about fitness and maybe you got the food thing down. But as I'm older, I'm looking at sleep and stress management.
Seriously.
So this is your foundation. And once those are good, a lot of times hormones, energy, a lot of that stuff in your body will start to work itself out. Now age comes along, I get that, and you have factors, but a lot of people who have gone through life, their 30s, 40s, and they've completely don't do movement. They're overweight. They don't have good eating habits. They don't sleep. They might be stressed out and they just skip and say, give me the Ozempic shot or give me hormones, but they like don't work on any of the foundational stuff. That's where I'm like, I don't know if that's the best move for your health because you're kind of skipping like all the good
Yeah.
stuff down there. Like, I get no one's perfect. And if you've got 3 out of 4 and it's assisting you and you're working with a doctor and they're helping you work on that foundation, I think it can be an amazing tool. I've watched some people really change their life through it. But at the same sense, I've watched people just say, "Ah, fuck it, I don't have to do the work now. I can just take a shot." I don't know how that's going to turn out. I don't know enough about it, but
Yeah.
I just can go off of I would rather invest on the baseline and hope that my longevity would be a little more natural. I'm not knocking anybody that takes that.
Of course.
I have friends that are on it,
Totally.
a family member that's on it, and I've watched it help them. Obviously, age has a lot to do with it. Another thing I've been talking a lot about, me and one of my girlfriends, is having muscle mass as you're going into your second half of the year. Once you hit 40 and going like
Second half of life.
second half of life. Yeah, like going into 40 with muscle, like muscle, because muscle fights fat, muscle fights menopause, muscle fights it's everything. And as women, it becomes harder and harder to gain muscle in that second half of life because hormones change. Everything changes. And if you haven't had the best eating habits, you're losing muscle at a faster rate as you're older than you were when you're 20 to 40. So when you're 20 and 40, you should try to be putting on solid muscle that's going to give you longevity in the second part of your life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're preaching the word.
I have this girlfriend, I'll give her a shout out, Ashley Kumar. You can follow her on
I know
Instagram.
Ashley. Oh yeah.
She has taught me so much about just like longevity, biohacking, all this stuff that I feel like I'm getting to learn just by being her friend, which is so fun.
Yeah.
I just got my cold plunge,
Yeah.
which she turned me on. I used hers for a full year going over to her house before I was like, okay, I'm going to get myself one. But like, if you're tired, you're feeling worn, you want to get back on track, she's got so much information on how to take care of yourself in a restorative way. And I think so much people want, like you were saying earlier, give me the fitness routine. I'll go to the gym 5 days a week and I just want to crush myself.
And a lot of people do.
And you're not sleeping, you're not eating right, and you're stressed, but yet you're putting more stress on your body. Think about it. When your body's like, hey, I need to heal. Like we just destroy ourselves because culture, and we see maybe influencers or people that look a certain way, but we don't know what they've been through. Like we don't, like people look at me and go, oh, you're so fit, you know? And I'm like, a couple years ago, I was dealing with some, I call it outside health and inside health. Outside health is how you look. The inside health is what's really actually going on in your body. People might not know if you have a disease. People might know if you have leaky gut. You could have an autoimmune, you know, and be fighting that, not feeling well. And so like um, there's so much education around this right now that I think is out there, that if you're struggling with something like this, you can get help. But I call it working on the inside health. And
Absolutely, yeah.
it's so important. And like just eating better food, getting your movement, sleeping right, and watching your stress. So like having that little bit of balance in your life that you're not just burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, those are the basics.
I've even like one little change I started making was just like cleaning up my house of some of the toxins, laundry,
Yeah, I know.
soap,
There's so much.
personal care items. Yeah, just a little bit. You can't change it all overnight. Like I'm trying to switch right now to all candles, like little things,
Switch to is it the brand also?
just natural candles that's
Oh,
not putting those like toxic
yeah.
fumes in the air. I've already switched over a lot of my lotions, my laundry.
What do you use?
What brands do I use? I just bought a reorder. Like, isn't that bad? I don't even know.
No, I would have.
Um,
I mean, I just go to Costco and use the all clear stuff.
I mean, you could, gosh, what is that brand? I just bought it on Instagram today, another one. But yeah, there's a lot out there. I
Yeah,
just
there
bought a
are.
laundry detergent. It's just like a powder I throw in versus
Yeah,
the liquid. And you think about it, it's bright blue.
I know.
It's probably got
I
like
know. And that's the thing, it's overwhelming. For us, it's not as overwhelming, but like for the average person.
And I'm not saying those things are going to kill you, but like
Totally.
I've been on this journey for so many years.
Yes.
I've got the fitness going. I've got my nutrition going.
Yeah.
I've been working on stress management and sleep for the past 3 years. Now I'm ready to tackle toxins in my
Right.
home. Like I didn't change it all in one night. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So it's like we slowly start adding more things in,
Yeah.
You got to just what's most important to you or where do you need the most help? And like I really leaned on resources in my life. I like to I call it my team. I've got my trainers, my physical therapists, whatever, doctors, people I follow that are educational resources for me. So I'm always trying to learn. I have like a team of people that are experts in these fields that I want to learn more about. And like I'm constantly getting my content from them, my education. I'm trying to learn new things. And
Right.
that's how I've been able to kind of take that in while still living a life. It's like, what are you following? What is getting your time
Right.
when you're on social media or
Right.
what are you reading? Are you reading fiction or are you reading educational stuff? Like it's your time. How do you spend it? But your fiction books could also be your recovery time of like unplugging and relaxing. So I just being more mindful of like what you're doing with your time in your life and what information you're taking in to take up real estate in your mental capacity because you only have so much, right?
It's so important.
What do you feel is taking up your mental capacity right now?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Survival mode.
Survival mode?
Yeah, we've been since Thanksgiving we have been sick. We've had COVID.
Oh no.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had COVID, stomach bug, flu. I mean, we're in survival mode.
Oh no.
Yeah,
all your kids too?
I mean, one or another, and I have 3, and they're all very close.
Mhm.
So if one gets it, another gets it.
It's like the whole house gets it, right?
For sure. So yeah, and I am at a place where I'm like, what's next? Kyle's gone. He's not coming back. We raised a bunch of money last year. That was a huge goal of mine. Raised a bunch of money for cancer research. Studies are happening for all of you that have donated. Thank you so much. The drugs are getting into patients. His study is making a difference in other people's life, which was a big goal and a big accomplishment. So thank you for everybody who helped contribute to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like that was my purpose and my mission. Obviously, being a parent to them, but it's like now, what? What? I take clients, one-on-one clients, help them with health and wellness stuff. I do my podcast, which I love. I'm meeting with those oncologists to kind of hear what's going on, how I can help. And my kids are my priority, but it's, I don't know. It's a weird place.
And you know what? Sometimes those times where we're like in like almost like a valley or a lull, like you have ebbs and flows. Like sometimes in those lulls, there's a lesson to be learned, and we're so ready to get out and have something to like be working for, have a purpose. But sometimes in those lulls is the teaching moment. Remember I told you I had 2 rock bottoms in my life. So the first one was losing my business. The second one was about 3 years into business when I had grown so rapidly. Had 2 children. They were both under the age of 1. One was the other one was an infant breastfeeding. And I had 3 stores, about 45 employees. This all happened within 3 years. And it was a multi-million-dollar business. And I was like, I don't know how to run this. Like, I don't know how to run this business. And for the next 3 years, I struggled and I crashed. Like, I was losing money as a business. I was stressed out. I was physically, and that's when I think my body just started to be like shutting down, but I was still trying to operate at this high level. And through that time, I questioned, why am why do I do this business? Like, it's not fruitful. It's not making money. It makes me cry. People used to be like, "Oh, House Fit Flavors, you guys are killing it," and I want to be like, "I fucking hate it. I want to get rid of it, and we suck." Like, that's what I wanted to say in those times. And through that period, I remember being in so much prayer with God and just being like, "Why do you have me here?" And I'd go to church and we'd sing worship music and I would just cry thinking, what am I doing with my life? And through that period of time, I almost felt like my faith was starting to waver. Like, I started to lose hope, but I didn't. I remember God put me on that path. The reason I started my business is because I felt like God said, follow your passion. I got your back. Like, I will be with you. And that's literally why I opened a second business, is because I felt very called to go that route. And then after 3 years of growing so rapidly, I struggled in the business and questioned a lot of things in my life. And when I look back of getting out from the other side, yeah, I had to grow up. I had to learn how to run a business. I had to learn how to food cost. I had to learn how to manage labor. I had to learn how to recruit. I had to learn how to write process and procedures. I had to learn how to business network. I mean, just the list goes on and on. Like, I had to grow up. And when I came out, I can go back and say, like, without that time of fighting, would I have been able to be as strong and secure as I am now? And so, like, I'm through it. I remember doing this study. It was in the book of Elijah. And it was all about how Elijah was one of God's amazing prophets. And he stood up to the kings of Israel way before Jesus, like in the Old Testament, when they were following false gods. And he did some really crazy miracles. But before that, God left him in the wilderness for 3 years.
And you're like,
and and he was waiting on the Lord, and in that time he grew stronger in his faith of waiting. And so it's not always on our time when we're in this lull, and there's a lesson to be learned of patience and trust in the Lord. And so coming out on the other side, I mean, doing that study, just, I was in tears because I was like, that's what I went through, there was like, truly felt like the Bible was speaking to me. And which is so cool. A lot of times Bible studies will do that. But I just encourage you just to stay open and embrace this season for what it is. God is shifting you, and you're a high performer and you're ready to do whatever. Like, God is changing you, and I have no doubt he will give you what your purpose and your alignment will be in the future. If you just stay connected to him, he will. 100%. Like, and being out through the other side and looking back, I feel so grateful that I got to go through that, because I know it just made me so much more strong today. And just even having the confidence to share this story, like, I would have never thought I would have shared something like this, and so sometimes our biggest struggles are our business, are like our success stories. Yeah, right. The hard stuff you overcome, right? And so, like, it just gives me perspective and confidence and strength and courage to just continue forward and hopefully encourage others. And, like, it's just life. You just get back up again. You just keep going. Like, isn't that everything, is just get back up and keep
yeah,
going?
I mean, that's what other choice we have.
Right,
'Cause
right.
people ask me that.
Because if not, you succumb to the negative, the enemy's voices. You're not good enough. You're whatever. Like, all the lies, and they can just overcome you and suppress you. And that's what the enemy wants. They wants to suppress. So you don't live to your fullest. Because when you live to your fullest, you can live and fulfill God's glory for your life. Like, fulfill God's glory in your life to honor him and make the world a better place. So yeah, it's almost like once I feel like sometimes the darkest times I had brought me the closest to him. Makes me more sure. Like, that was the suckiest part of my life. That was worse than being in the hospital bed, because it lasted so long. Some people suffer for years and then they come out on the other side and they're just like different person. I always think about, like, what about the people who are like hostages in another country?
Oh my gosh. I know.
Wow.
I know. It's so true. Wow. Well, I feel moved. I hope all of you feel moved. Anybody that needs to hear this message today. I loved having you on. You are a force. I mean, you're amazing. We all know it. Anyone in St. Louis knows who you are, and Fit Flavors is it's an amazing business and company, and it's doing really good things. So I'm so glad you came on.
Thanks.
Anybody that didn't know about Fit Flavors that lives in St. Louis, go check them out. It's pretty awesome. You're doing awesome things.
Thank you.
So
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming
Awesome.
on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If there's one more thing, anything you want to leave, one thing you want to leave with the viewers today. If you could give them one piece of advice, maybe that changed your life, or saying that someone said to you, or something you want to. Just one thing.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was prepping you for this, and then we got going. Remember, I was like, "There's one thing I wanted to tell you to prep you."
Oh,
this is it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I would say, I know this sounds cheesy, but just a lot of times it's just taking action. I actually was talking to my my mentor this morning about like people I was trying to encourage, and I said, man, the difference is a lot of times I just take action. I just go. And I can't encourage people enough. Like a lot of times your next thing or the change that you're looking for is you taking that next step. It's just taking action on the thing you need to do. If you need to sign up for that thing, freaking sign up. If you need to make a change and cut something off in your life, stand up for yourself and cut that thing off. Like doing that thing that's going to move the needle is like the taking action that opens the door for the next opportunity. And a lot of times we want this change, we want to see something different, but yet we live in fear, not in faith. It's like stepping out, take action, like move, like do the thing.
I love that.
Whatever that thing is, just do it.
I keep thinking one thing. I keep thinking.
Fuck around and find out.
I love it. I read something on Instagram before we go. It was like all these things in your life, all these troubles. You're not sure what to do, but you're not a tree, so move.
Oh, you're not a tree,
right?
So move.
I'm like, what a good analogy. Like to think, you know what? I can make that change.
Awesome. Yeah, trees don't move.
They don't move, right? We're not trees. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to all of you for listening to the Yes We Can podcast. We'll be back again next week. Again, we'll have all the links for Jillian and all her book, her website, all the things. Please check it out.